Let's jump into the MLB though, Brett, as it's been a sad week with Tom Seaver and Lou Brock passing away.
Yeah, really sad week for baseball. Those are two legends of the game. Tom Seaver, was throwing no hitters late into his career. Lou Brock was stealing bases late in his career. Like these guys are all time greats, and to lose them on the same week, very 2020 Higgins, very 2020.
Yeah, Tom Seaver was just such an icon in the Mets franchise because he was their first player that they fully developed and actually became something, was a major piece in their World Series back in the 60s. And Seaver was the player that when he went into the Hall of Fame had the highest percentage of votes to get in up until recently with Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter and Ken Griffey Jr. Other than those three, Tom Seaver was at the top of that list for a long time with over 98% of the vote.
Well, you don't just get the nickname the franchise. Like he was the franchise. So yeah, definitely a sad one for the Mets. And, Lou Brock, an all time St. Louis Cardinal. And obviously, the Cardinals are a storied franchise. So to be one of the best there, you're truly one of the all time greats.
You really are. Some good news out of the MLB is that they're going to honor Roberto Clemente by allowing Puerto Rican born players to wear the number 21 on September 9th. And for those that may be younger into baseball that aren't entirely familiar with Roberto Clemente, he is a fantastic player that was with the Pirates in the 70s, had 3,000 hits, and then was taking a flight full of supplies to Nicaragua after I believe it was an earthquake, and the plane crashed and everyone died on it. I'm not even sure if they ever even found the plane, to be honest. But very untimely death by Roberto Clemente, and it's very nice to see them honoring him in this fashion.
Yeah, he's again one of the all-time greats to play baseball, and one of the best philanthropists ever to play baseball. So, very important person in Puerto Rican baseball history, and I know Yadier Molina already announced he'll be wearing 21. The Cardinals actually play a doubleheader that day, so he gets
Ooh.
two wears out of the number 21 jersey. And I'm sure Yachty is very, very happy that it falls on a doubleheader day for his team.
Yes. And like I said, Clemente had 3,000 hits. He had exactly 3,000 hits. That's what his career ended with, a lifetime batting average of 317, 3,000 hits, 240 home runs, and 1,305 RBIs. This is a player that played amazing contact baseball, did have power from the 240 home runs that you saw, but was really just a true hitter's hitter in a sense.
Yeah, no, it's nice to honor a true icon like that. And, Puerto Rican players talk about it all the time, the impact he had uh, on people playing baseball on that island. So, really good move by the MLB here. Some quick fantasy updates for everyone before we get into the games. Orioles lose probably their best batter of the year. Santander, he's out for the season with an oblique injury. The Yankees, they're going to bench Gary Sanchez. He's been slumping. Not shocking, but certainly a little surprising. And two more Philly outfielders head to the IL. So Jay Bruce and Quinn head to the IL there. But some positive news: Ozzy Albies is close to a return, possibly sometime this week for Atlanta.
Yeah, and as someone that has him on their IL, I'm very happy to hopefully be getting Ozzy Albies back soon. The Gary Sanchez news is interesting mainly because of the amount of injuries that New York has had. It is surprising that you're going to take a big name like that, even if he is slumping and you're going to bench him just because the Yankees have had a hard time with all of their pieces being able to function. So even if you have one that's not performing optimally, I think you want to keep him in the lineup there. But it'll be interesting to see who they replace him with and how they perform. Getting into some of these games, though, before we give out one of our picks, the Philadelphia Phillies versus New York Mets, that's going to be an interesting game because Zach Wheeler is returning to Citi Field, and he won't be necessarily getting the boos unless they play him over the intercom.
Yeah, boo! I'll boo from my TV. Boo!
But I will say I am on a parlay of two different teams. I'm going to be on the Minnesota Twins and the Cleveland Indians, both money line. Individually, each of these are minus 200, but put them together and they're plus 125. Now, the reason why I like this in the Minnesota Twins game, they're playing against the Detroit Tigers, and the Tigers have Michael Fulmer is going to be the starting pitcher for the Tigers, and his ERA is 7.27.
Yeah, you're gonna want to lower that a little bit there, Michael Fulmer. Just a tip, just an
Yeah.
idea. But yeah, I like Minnesota tomorrow as well. I like that you parlayed it because minus 200 on the money line is too much juice for me. But Seattle's only laying minus 140, and that is enough where I think I could still deal with that and take that. They're playing Texas. Kobe Allard is pitching for the Rangers. He's 0-4 on the year, so I'm taking Marco Gonzalez, who's pitched pretty well for the Mariners. The Mariners think they're in a wild card race, so they need all these wins against some of the bottom of the teams. At minus 140, I'll do that, but I do like your strategy of parlaying some of these bigger favorites.
And there were a few different ones that I had looked at for that parlay. I like your Seattle pick because the Rangers on the road this year have been abysmal. They're 4-16 away. 13-26 overall. They haven't been playing good anywhere, really, but 4-16 on the road. Absolutely take that home team with the Seattle Mariners. The other team, like I mentioned, that's part of that parlay, the Cleveland Indians, that is a pick because of the pitching duel that it's going to be, and I trust that the Indians will be able to get one or two runs on the board more than I trust Kansas City to. I mean, it's going to be Brad Keller on the mound for the Royals, who is 3-1 with an ERA of 193, against Zach Plesac with the Indians, who is 2-1 and has an ERA of 133. Now, obviously, Plesac has not pitched as much as Brad Keller because of the COVID infractions that he had with Michael Clevenger that had him sit out for a little bit. But Plesac's back. He's already had one outings since coming back, so it's not going to be first return jitters or anything. And I think both of those at minus 200, you combine them at plus 125, and that's a pretty good pretty good odds. The other games that I was thinking of maybe pairing with this instead, the Atlanta Braves minus 195 over the Miami Marlins. Didn't end up going there mainly because the Marlins pitcher Urena, it's his first return since being on the COVID list. So it'll be interesting to see how he responds with that. And that's too much of an unknown for me, so I didn't go there. And then San Diego, they host Colorado. They're minus 200 on the money line. And as hot as San Diego is, wasn't quite confident enough to pull that one. So Cleveland and Minnesota for plus 125.
Well, I found a bet I like in Colorado, San Diego, and that's that over 8. I think the Padres and Rockies both have lineups that can produce tons of runs. So if I get a 5-4 game, I'm very happy, Higgins. Over 8 in San Diego, Colorado. And one more thing before we move on to the football. The Arizona Diamondbacks play the San Francisco Giants tomorrow or on Monday. The Giants are currently plus 100 on the money line. That was interesting to me, but then I looked at the pitching matchups and I realized, oh, Zach Gallen is on the bump for the Diamondbacks, and Zach Gallen may be the best pitcher in the NL this year. You would disagree. You would say Trevor Bauer. I wouldn't really argue with that. I would just say Zach Gallen is also really, really, really good.
Yes, he is. Surprisingly, he only has a record of 1-0, though. Surprisingly, he hasn't been able to grab more of those wins
That
despite his 1.80 ERA and his whip that's under 1.
Yeah, no, that is that says more about the Diamondbacks than my man Zach Allen, because he has pitched his ass off, as the kids say.
Yeah, I'm looking at his outings so far. He has had 8 outings. The win that he ended up getting was against San Francisco at the end of August. So that should be a little comforting given the matchup that this is. But yeah, 8 outings. He's pitched over 5 innings in all but his first outing of the season. So he's gone 6 or 7 innings most of these. So That is a very impressive stretch by this young man. We'll see how that works out in San Francisco, though, as we get prepared for Monday's baseball action.